Hi everybody, my name is Johannes and I would like to introduce Alex today and present you the team behind Alexander. Well, this is 1inch Dreams, our company, and there's a nice story I would like to share with you. 10 years ago I met Alex and I taught him how to get up on a slackline, and well, the result was that it just took him 2 or 3 weeks to become better than me. And that might be the reason why he's going to present today and not me. Anyways, our company is based on 3 different things. 1inch Dreams likes to do big projects and film them, as you can see in this picture. And our work is based on reach and communication. Thirdly, we produce our own slackline hardware. And well, 1 inch is exactly the width of a slackline, 2.54 centimeters, and it all started somehow with a dream. And when I went to Mexico City about 10 years ago, I saw a perfect spot up in the air between 2 skyscrapers. And now, before Alex will get on the stage, I would like to show you a small video about this project.
Mexico City. 25 million people live and move on these busy streets. Rush, chaos, traffic jams, noise. They live absorbed in their daily routine, oblivious to what's around them, focused only on what's below their feet, looking down, lost in distant thoughts, always looking down. They have forgotten what it means to walk staring ahead. They have forgotten there is a world outside their phones. How to make them remember. How to make them look up. In a place where every step you take has already been walked. Where every idea you can think of has already been thought. We found a way to cross the line between staying down and rise above all. We found a way to make them look up.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 3-time world record slackliner Alexander Schulz.
Hey, thanks a lot, Johannes, for this really nice little introduction.
I have to go now.
Well, if you had trained more back then, instead of starting to film, you could be here right now.
Good luck.
Thanks a lot. Welcome, everyone. I could say good morning. I'm really excited to give you today some personal insights about stepping out of your comfort zone. First of all, I'd like to ask a little question. Who of you knows even what slacklining is? Please lift your arms. Yeah, that is the majority, I would say. So some of you don't know what it is. It's actually basically just balancing on a 1-inch wide webbing. You can see it right here, how this can look. Well, I can say that I stepped out of my comfort zone so many times that its boundaries expanded. They shifted way beyond the original state. I mean, that's what slacklining taught me or made me. Well, when talking about comfort zones, first of all, let's define what a comfort zone is. Therefore, I have this little scientific model about comfort zones. I symbolized my comfort zone on the lowest picture, where you can see me laying on a slackline. For you, that might be laying at home at the couch or in the bed, or doing anything which doesn't require energy and doesn't involve fear. You can step out of your comfort zone, and then you enter the learn and growth zone. That's where we all want to get often in order to evolve ourselves or our company? Well, as you can see, there's a picture of a highline in the middle. So that means in this learning zone, you already might be afraid or feel fear. However, that fear and the tasks in this zone are still manageable. That's not the case anymore in your panic zone. When you're in the panic zone, you're so afraid that you might even not be able to act physically anymore. So it just limits your abilities. And it might even shrink your comfort zone. You might be afraid of things you weren't before when you experience panic too many times. So our goal today is I want to show you how to expand your comfort zone and how to step out of it. So how can we learn and grow by stepping out of our comfort zone is my key question today. Right here, you can see my younger self framed by my two parents, who luckily were quite adventurous, and next to climbing mountains, they showed me sports like kayaking, caving, canyoneering, like basically a lot of different kinds of sports, which were really exciting. And the most exciting thing was seeing Mount Etna on Sicily erupting from really close on. So I can say that my childhood and youth was super adventurous, and during it, I did already, thanks to my parents, could expand my comfort zone already and get used to being in the learning zone. When I was 16, I started slacklining, and it immediately took a big hold of me. That's because of several reasons, but the main for that is, I would say, because I'm a really ambitious person, and slacklining is super challenging. I mean, as you can see here, at the beginning, you just fall again and all over again. However, I was motivated to train, and as you can see here, it already maybe worked better, and I could finally try to set up my first slacklines higher up. As you can see right here, I'm attached. I'm wearing a safety leash and a harness. So slacklining, highlining can be quite safe if you know how to do it properly. So it's basically just a mind game. It's a mind game because objectively you are safe. However, it doesn't feel safe, but more to that later. That is a really beautiful picture, and it's one of my first world records as well. World records in slacklining are mostly defined by the length. So this was the longest slackline ever been walked above water at this point. It was 320 meters long and at a beautiful lake in South Germany. This is another world record. It was in China. It was 375 meters long, this highline, and at this point, 2 times longer than the longest slacklines I had ever walked, even on the ground before. And as highlining is much harder, it was a super big challenge. Also a big challenge to just put up the slackline, which took us 1 week. But, well, the biggest challenge was walking it and not let myself be taken down by this thought that it's super long. I mean, maybe above my possibilities. Well, it wasn't. I could send it, and it gave me the belief that anything is possible for you as long as it's physically possible, or at least nearly everything. Well, at my next project, I realized, I just got to my physical limits, above my physical limits, actually. This is the first of 3, by the way, where I'm going more in detail. And relating it more to stepping out of your comfort zone. Well, so as you can see here, there was some wind. The slackline was bending to the side. It was actually 650 meters long. Well, the numbers doesn't so matter. anyways, it's about the wind in this project. And in the following clip, you can see, yeah, despite a lot of training for this project, that nothing could prepare me for what awaited me here.
Das war ein extrem einschüchternder Anblick, aber ich bin auch davor schon mit Wind gelaufen und weiß, ich kann grundsätzlich damit umgehen und habe dann trotzdem alles gegeben, aber der Wind war einfach stärker. Er war inzwischen, als ich in der Mitte war, 100 Stundenkilometer stark, die Line. Hatte 100 Meter seitlichen Durchhang. Ich musste einfach so schnell wie es geht zum Rand zurücksliden, weil es in jeder Minute gefährlicher wurde, weil der Wind stärker wurde mit jeder Sekunde.
Das war gerade wirklich das anstrengendste und angsteinflößendste Erlebnis, was ich je auf einer Slackline hatte. Wahnsinn! Und da war ich draußen. Morgen soll es regnen und genauso stürmen, aber vielleicht haben wir irgendwann auch mal Glück. Bei den Bedingungen keine Chance, dass ich hier rüberkomme.
So as you just saw, there were wind gusts of up to more than 100 kilometers per hour, while I was still in the middle of the slackline. So you can imagine it's not possible anymore to even stand on a slackline when you are in such a storm. So the only possibility I had was clipping myself on the slackline with a carabiner and pulling myself with my arms all 300 meters back to the anchor. Well, unfortunately, the wind got even stronger while I was doing that, and it made me literally afraid of dying because I thought the line might break. The next day it turned out, I calculated it and found out, well, the line was far from breaking, but in this situation, I was afraid to death and was nearly panicking. The problem is, if I had panicked then, I would have just used all my energy for like a few meters and then wouldn't have any left to continue all the way. So I had to calm myself down in order not to panic. What really helped me in this situation was breathing. Here you can see me doing some yoga, and yoga is all about proper breathing. And yeah, actually, this did help me in slacklining, but also a lot in daily life. There are so many situations where taking a deep breath changes so much. Well, as you can see here, it finally worked, but only 1 month later when we came back and set this slackline up for a second time. So it was a big relief and happiness for myself, but also for the whole team when it finally worked. This is a little summary about the main challenge and my coping strategies for this project. So the challenge was to cope with kind of impossible external circumstances, which in this case were just a huge storm, which was impossible to deal with, and so I needed to accept failure or learn to fail. Well, another important strategy I just told you about to keep myself from panicking was just using proper breath control. I mean, it's not easy to always think of your breath, but if you train it, you can use it in any situation in life. So this was the first of 3 projects. The next one takes us to Mexico. Yes, I agree, this looks like it could be photoshopped, however it isn't, and the story behind goes like this. I was just contacted by this Mexican girl. She sent me a picture of this place without the slackline yet and asked me, hey, do you want to put up a slackline there? I said, yes, for sure, it looks beautiful, let's do it. It was just 2 weeks later when she suddenly came up with the idea of this airplane. Well, it sounded as crazy for me in the first place as it might sound for you now. Well, the best thing I could do, or the natural thing to do then, was think about the involved risk. Actually, luckily, I figured out for me that the risk is not that high, because this guy in the airplane is widely known for his high precise flying skills. I mean, he's literally flying centimeters close to objects during his acrobatic airplane stunts. Well, and in this case, I was an object. So, it did happen, like you see, and here's a small clip so you get a better impression about how it looked. Still at least 30 minutes to go. But thanks anyways. Well, so this is how it looked from the bottom. And the feeling while this happened was a little bit crazy. I mean, basically, I was standing there, and 10 meters below me, this super huge, loud, and really fast machine thing like just rushed below my feet. And in this picture, even the helicopter followed, which was even bigger. So you can imagine, I wasn't just totally relaxed. It did make me a little bit afraid, and I started to shake totally naturally. I mean, however, what I also realized was, during each time he flew past me, I could stand more stable and more relaxed, up to the point that in the end, I could even like film him and follow him with my GoPro when he flew, when he went past. And yeah, that's how it looked for both of us from our personal perspective. To sum up this project, the biggest challenge I had to face was irrational fear. I mean, you remember telling me I was kind of afraid at first, despite knowing that objectively it's safe. But your mind and body in many situations just reacts kind of irrational in this moment. And my best coping strategy for this situation is to build up routine, or just to practice, to expose yourself again and again to situations which make you afraid. So that was it about what I have to say about this project. For the next one, we just have to travel 1 year in time and a few hundred kilometers to the capital of Mexico. This 220 meter long and 250 meter high slackline was really the biggest challenge I had to face throughout my sportive career. It was difficult because of several reasons. Firstly, half of the slackline was literally invisible. You see that on the kind of next picture. Anyways, another reason, as you might guess, is the exposure. I mean, it was 250 meter high, rigged between the two highest buildings of whole Mexico. So I was just above everything, and even nowadays for me it's still like that. When I'm a few hundred meters high in the air, my heart does beat faster than when I stand on a slackline 1 meter above the ground. Even though I have my strategies and how to deal with it and got used to it quite a bit, it's still a difference. What you don't see in this picture is that there was a lot of distraction going on. I mean, there was a helicopter continuously, without stopping, circling all around me. This was actually part of it was broadcasted live in the biggest Mexican TV channels. And the pressure was also high because I had just a time frame of 4 hours to walk the whole slackline without falling. I mean, that's the point about world records, like in this case. It was the longest highline and also the highest one ever been rigged in urban environment. I mean, that's just one of the disciplines of slacklining. Well, back to the project. So it was super difficult, most of all because of this really huge pressure and the expectations. That's the point now to show you one more coping strategy of mine, which I always use a lot.
Ale, easy, easy. Ale, easy, relax. Ja, hast es.
One might say, this guy is talking to himself, but I can tell you this does help a lot, in fact. I mean, in extreme situations, you can really speak it out, or even shout it out if necessary. I mean, in fact, when it's hard for me to keep balance on a slackline, shouting actually physically helps to relax some muscles which are too tight because you are stressed and so on. You might realize that also that just shouting sometimes relaxes you and helps, but you can't always do that, of course. Imagine just shouting in the middle of a meeting. Well, in this case, you can still talk to yourself in your own head, and so, yeah, that does help. But almost coping strategies weren't enough in this case. Like you can see here, I just kept failing, kept falling. And after the 5th fall, I started to lose the belief that I will walk this line today. You know, I went there and was convinced that I will walk it for sure, because yeah, I didn't thought it's so hard at the beginning, but all these difficult circumstances added up. Well, and the biggest one of it was the pressure. But that was the only one of the factors which I could change, because pressure and expectations or how you think and feel about them is something which just happens here in your head. Of course, it's super, super, super hard to change, but it's possible with the right strategy and enough energy eventually. Of course, it's not always possible, but in this case, I somehow managed. I mean, I went back to the beginning like I always do after falling, and sat down, and you know, it was like this. I had already kind of lost the belief that I would walk this line. I remember telling it to Johannes, hey, man, I'm not sure, I think I cannot walk it. Well, and then sitting down and thinking about it, I got the idea, hey, maybe it's okay to fail for once. I mean, most of my projects I had, of the world records I tried, I could walk it in the end. And I mean, here was a huge pressure and expectations behind, but still I got the idea, maybe it's okay to fail. And then this brought me to the question, what's the worst that can happen? What if I fail? What's the worst that can happen in this case? And I realized, well, there's nothing so bad would happen. Of course, some people might be disappointed, but for once, my team, they will certainly understand. I mean, they know me and they know how crazy hard it is to walk on a highline and to do it with these conditions. So they wouldn't be disappointed of me. They know I'm giving 150%. The other agency where we were cooperating with, I mean, we told them that there's no guarantee that I could walk it. I mean, maybe the chance is high, but it can always happen that it doesn't happen. So they wouldn't throw me off the skyscraper, even if it's Mexico. And well, the publicity, because it's also part, you know, it was live. The publicity, I mean, they are fascinated that I'm even up there, no matter what I'm doing. So no need to be afraid of them as well. So basically, this all were reasons and told me that it is okay to fail today. This realization kind of just lifted most of the pressure and took the fear of failing from myself, so I could concentrate fully on the still difficult task ahead. I could just channel all my energy into what matters in every second of this walk. And I can tell you, it was still super challenging to keep it all up. I needed to use all my previous strategies like breathing, shouting. Yeah, but in the end, well, it was a close call, but it worked out. As you can see here, this is the second part of the video clip that Johannes showed you at the very beginning.
Because it is only there where we find ourselves face to face against our own demons. Where time stops, and the only thing left to do is to tie the final knot. Take a deep breath and dare to take that step. And even if you fall, try again and again and again, until you break the limits between what's impossible and what's dreamable.
To sum it up, the biggest of these challenges I had to face during this project in Mexico City were super high expectations, huge pressure and fear of failing. My strategy was to put this fear into perspective, because maybe you can imagine how stressful, or just how, you know, how stressed I was about this one, like about to send it. And this level of stress didn't relate to the worst outcome that could happen. Well, I really like this comparison to daily life. I mean, right now, for me, standing here is definitely out of my comfort zone. And you all maybe know that your heart gets beat faster and you are afraid of discussing yourself, talking in front of people, but no physical harm, for example, will come to you. And the best is to drop the fear, because then you will perform best. This one just symbolizes like our own belief about the last and all our successful projects we do, and I want to remind you and ask you to sometimes cherish the moment and remember back happy, successful situations when you reached some goals, for example. I mean, putting some nice pictures in your head which you can always think of in any situation is also a good strategy to, you know, get positive in, or calm, or whatever you need to get in any challenging situation in life. Coming towards the end of my talk already, I sum up some reasons. I ask the questions, why should we all step off our comfort zone? Well, first of all, you can realize your dreams. You can only realize your dreams or reach your goals if you do step out, because for most goals, you need to learn something new. You need to do something you haven't done before, you're doing for the first time maybe. A nice side effect is definitely you are increasing your self-esteem while doing so, because you're facing challenges and eventually growing with these challenges, not only your abilities and your competence, but yeah, also your self-esteem. Another reason could be to tame or overcome your fears. I mean, that's quite clear. I mean, yeah, later more to that. Yeah, for me personally, a reason is also to be an inspiration, because it just feels nice to inspire people. So how can we achieve that? I think the most important thing to do it is practice. Just expose yourself to difficult or challenging or fearful situations again and again, and you will realize that you will get better in dealing with them, or that your fear will get less. Doing things step by step is also super important, especially when you have like a huge project where you first don't know or aren't sure that you will be able to make it. Think about, break it down, what needs to be done and in which order, and then just focus on the single things to do. As you heard during my line in Mexico City, putting your fear into perspective can help as well. Because I already told you, sometimes we're letting ourselves be influenced and stressed by fears way too much in comparison to what's the worst thing that can happen. Failing is important, learning how to fail and to accept failure. That was like one of the biggest things, or what slacklining taught me from the very beginning. Because as you remember at the beginning, and even now, you are falling a lot of times, and that can feel like failing, and anywhere in life, we are failing often before we are able to accomplish something. All these are my coping strategies. Well, and each of us just needs to figure out his or her own ones which are fitting best to him or her. I really like this quote: "Fear kills more dreams than failure ever will." And translated like that, each time that you're bailing out on something, your fear will grow. But when you're trying something which you're afraid of, the worst thing that can happen is that you're failing, and that's basically you're at the same place like before, but you also have the chance to succeed in it. This brings me to our next project ahead. This is the so-called Door to Hell. It's a 30-meter deep burning gas crater in Turkmenistan. It was kind of accidentally created by Soviet scientists who were searching for gas. Eventually, the ground below them collapsed, and gas was coming out of the ground. They thought it's a smart idea to actually put the gas on fire in the belief that it would burn out within a couple of days. As you can see, it's still burning today, and that is our luck, because our plan now is to put a 70-meter long slackline all the way across the crater. Yes, I agree, it does look and sound dangerous in the beginning. However, I can assure you that with all my teams and my experience and our will to survive it, not only survive it, but to have a super high chance not to even get hurt, we will be able to do this safely. We already have exact plans figured out. It will also involve me wearing a volcanic suit and an oxygen mask. I will have to train that on another slackline before, because this stuff is super heavy. So it will be, I don't know because I didn't try, but if it will be my biggest, but it will definitely be a big challenge and another realization of a 1-inch dream. I mean, I personally have dreamed about walking above fire like this, or even about lava for quite a few years now, and this is the place where we as 1-inch dreams want to realize this dream. And yeah, okay. So, to nearly end my talk, I want to ask you if you are also ready to harness your fears and leave your comfort zone. Well, I would say you have the perfect opportunity right here in Rust at the CloudFest, because you can, without any risk, just sit in a roller coaster and enjoy basically your ride out of your comfort zone safely. A fun fact is that on the highest roller coaster here in Rust, the Silver Star, right in front of our entrance, we have rigged a 150-meter long highline for you, and I will perform still today at 2 p.m. You can see me walking this thing at least once, forth and back, and you can also expect some tricks while I will do this. So, yeah, it's funny because at the last trying of my talk, of our talk yesterday, we were like 20 minutes over the time, and if I counted correctly, I'm now 3 minutes early. So if I were spontaneous, I would say there is time to ask some questions, but first let me ask, is it correct we still have time, or is it better to end?
Alexander, thank you so much. What an inspiring and insightful presentation. Stay still. Fabulous.
As well.
I'm just going to come and walk with you on the tightrope. I feel quite comfortable so far.
Yeah.
You've got to be with a coach, though. Wow, is there so much we can take and apply to our businesses here? If we can be inspired just 5% of what we heard here, we can make transformational changes in our business back at our normal jobs in the day-to-day of tomorrow and afterwards. Wonderfully inspiring. I have one question for Alexander. Mm-hmm. Where do you buy rope long enough to do 300 meters?
Yeah, that's not always so easy. Even like producing, making such a long slackline can be a challenge for the producers of it. However, the good thing is nowadays it's no problem to just stitch slacklines together. It's not a good thing to do with ropes, but ropes, you can still knot them together. So even if you don't get a long enough piece, it's no problem to connect them. However, when you do want to get one, any slackline, just ask a slackline producer. They can tell you if it's possible.
Fabulous. The quotation that I liked the most was the following. Alexander told us, anything is possible that is physically possible. That's why I'm asking the rope question, because the rest is all up here, right? Mm-hmm. You gave us great insights in how to manage that, especially the breathing piece, thinking positively. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome a big CloudFest thank you to Alexander Schulz. Thank you, Alexander.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for being here.